Our next speaker is Dr. Swati Patel, a clinical dietitian with over 25 years of experience in metabolic and nutritional care. She has worked extensively in diabetes management and maternal nutrition preventive healthcare programs. She will speak on dietary ages, significant CKM risk factor, or an overstated concern. Please welcome Dr. Swati Patel.
So once again, good morning everybody. My topic today is dietary ages, significant CKM risk factor or overstated concern. So I think I can begin with, in the morning, मेरे हिसाब से काफ़ी लोगों ने must have eaten a slice of toast or a grilled sandwich or some roasted coffee, and the feeling is wow, right? Now this also happens through a Maillard reaction, which I'm going to be discussing today in the topic. So think of that slice of bread which went into the toaster and which was soft and pale. When it came out after minutes, it was hard, crisp, and very, very overwhelming. We are so interested, we are so happy after eating that slice of toast. So a similar Maillard reaction also happens in our body. So let us connect now this Maillard reaction in the CKM spectrum. So what are AGs? I think this is not comfortable. So AGs are basically advanced glycation end products, and these are formed through a non-enzymatic reaction, the Maillard reaction, between the reducing sugars and the amino group of either a protein, lipid or nucleic acids. The sources of AGs are both endogenous and exogenous. Endogenous is when there is hyperglycemia or some aging process going into the body, and the exogenous is our own food, the dietary sources. So what happens is the age are formed via the Maillard reaction in the body in 3 phases, where, as I said, the sugar molecule gets attached to the protein or the amino group of a protein, and to form a Schiff base. Now this Schiff base are very, very unstable, and this happens in hours, but these are reversible because they are glucose dependent. So the moment the glucose levels reduce, the Schiff base can reverse. The Schiff base in the second phase can go to the Amadori products through a lot of chemical rearrangements. Now these Amadori products are stable but reversible, and this can happen within a few days to weeks. The classic example that I can give you here is about HbA1c. How in our clinic we tell people that if you change your lifestyle, your eating habits, the HbA1c can be reduced or reversed. Further, the Amadori products will get into more complex chemical rearrangements to form cross-linked proteins, and these are the ages that we are going to talk about today. Now, how dietary ages are formed? Exogenously, as I said, these are high-risk cooking practices like frying, grilling, roasting, baking, pressure cooking in a dry heat method. So if you want to reduce the age, we have to use methods like boiling, stewing, steaming and poaching. So these are the common high age foods like fried foods, processed meats, reheated oils, grilled meats, fast food, bakery products. So what is important here is ages are not only equal to sugar. They can be present in high protein diets and would be age dense as well. So this is just a basic comparison of how cooking methods can change the age values. So if the beef is fried and whether the beef is stewed, we can see the difference. It is 9,000 plus, and there it is only 2,000. Similarly with the remaining food, and if you see the potato french fries, it is just 694. If the potato is boiled, it is just 17. So this is the way you can change the methodology of cooking. The age-range complex, basically this the mechanism of action is that through the Maillard reaction, the age is formed. Now age gets attached to a receptor. So then it becomes a complex called as RAGE, that is receptor of age. Okay. Now these lignins of RAGE basically activates the intercellular pathways, and notably through NFKB. NFKB is the nuclear factor kappa B pathway, which in turn will accelerate the pro-inflammatory cytokines like the IL-6 and the TNF-A alpha, sorry. Now, what are the pathological outcomes of this? Basically, the inflammation and oxidative stress, where the RAGE increases the ROS. ROS is basically reactive oxygen species, which which increases the oxidative stress, and this happens via the NADPH oxidase, ultimately leading to a lot of cellular damage. Then is the endothelial dysfunction, where the vascular system is impaired and finally leading to atherosclerosis, or if it is a microvascularity, then it could be retinopathy. And sustained inflammation and accumulation of ages can also lead to fibrosis and organ damage. Age-age interaction can disrupt the insulin signaling pathways, and finally insulin resistance. So if you see the biological impact of ages are chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, endothelial dysfunction, insulin resistance, and tissue fibrosis. And in this way we can say there is a direct relevance to CKM pathology. So most widely studied ages are CML, that is carboxymethyl lysine, pentosidine, and pyrrolin. So if we have to understand CKM syndrome, it is basically covering obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, CKD, atherosclerotic CVD, and they share common pathways which include inflammation, oxidative stress, and insulin resistance. So if we connect age to cardiovascular risk, the endothelial dysfunction and inflammation and the oxidative stress basically promotes the arterial stiffness, it accelerates atherosclerosis, it can impair the nitric oxide function and increase the LDL oxidation. So ages basically contribute to vascular aging beyond the blood cholesterol levels. If I connect age with kidney health, there is usually reduced renal clearance, and that itself will accumulate a lot of age, and there is hence age load. Then it can also increase glomerular damage, worsen proteinuria, and CKD patients basically have double burden because there is reduced renal clearance and hence the age, and plus the dietary ages. Age, if you connect with metabolic health, evidence link age to poor glycemic control, beta cell dysfunction, increased insulin resistance, and worsening PCOS and metabolic syndrome. So I feel this is a major key clinical takeaway for all of us as nutritional professionals. So why does this topic matter? First of all, because the burden of CKM is increasing globally, and this is lifestyle driven and not just genetics. Also, we need to discuss beyond diet quality, beyond calories and macros when we are prescribing diet plans to our clients, to our patients. Age is emerging as a small but modifiable piece within the larger CKM prevention network. So what does the evidence say? With low age diets, observational studies show high, strong associations, and interventional studies show improved insulin sensitivity, reduced inflammatory markers, and better endothelial function. So what is the controversy? Why are the ages debated? They're debated because not all dietary ages are absorbed. The absorption rate is just 10 to 30%, and of this 10 to 30%, only 2/3 are retained in the body and tissues. The rest is all excreted via the kidneys. So in case of renal issues, yes, it definitely is a significant factor. Secondly, the differences in individual gut microbiota. So the dysbiotic gut can definitely increase the inflammation, and here the age will definitely be an added factor. Then there are a lot of measurement challenges. We do not have a lot of standardization here to measure the age. So hence the question whether it is a risk factor or whether it is an overstated concern. So my balanced interpretation is age is not the sole villain, but they amplify the existing metabolic risk, particularly relevant in diabetes, CKD, obesity, sedentary lifestyle, and especially in case of high processed food intake. So the clinical relevance for practice is age awareness is most valuable for high risk CKM patients, long-term disease prevention, and patients with controlled labs but worsening outcomes. So in a clinic, many a times we see that patients come with excellent blood reports, but still their pathophysiology is not very good. So age reduction is equal to risk mitigation strategy, but not restriction or elimination of foods. So the practical dietary strategies according to me would be, without inducing fear or food aversion within our patients, is modify the cooking methods, which is very easy to do. increase the antioxidants, vitamins C, or all the polyphenols. So we have to advocate eating a lot of vegetables and fruits. Prepare fresh and minimally processed foods. We can use acidic marinades, especially true for the non-vegetarian foods, because non-veg foods naturally have a lot of age, and the cooking methods will further accelerate the age load. Avoid reheated oils. EGCG from green tea is also beneficial. Further, with a lot of study I saw and I read that berries and pomegranates also are beneficial. So in an Indian context, now the tandoor has basically replaced the tawa. So we need to get back to the tawa, and a lot of frying, lot of bakery culture. बहुत सारे events में, शादियों में, engagements में, we have now like the cake has become mandatory. हमारा हलवा बाजू में रह जाता है कई बार, but the cake is mandatory. And we have a lot of home bakers. So I have nothing against the home bakers, but the bakery, if there is a lot of eating of bakery food, it can definitely pose a risk factor. Rising processed snack consumption. So the cultural cooking adaptations possible, highly possible, where we can use steaming, pressure cooking with moisture, temperature control while cooking, and use of ceramic vessels. So while we are communicating with our patient, we need to explain ages very simply by telling them it's not just what you cook, but how you cook that matters. And we need to focus on swaps, not elimination. किसी को बोलेगा कि ग्रिल पनीर मत खाओ, पनीर ये मत खाओ, चिकन मत खाओ, that does not really work. We need to give them options कि इसी पनीर को, इसी चिकन को आप ग्रिल करो, sorry, not grill करो, boil करो, steam करके खाओ. So we have to help them change their method of cooking rather than eliminating that particular food. And avoid unnecessary dietary anxiety, because anxiety is ultimately stress, and that also can increase the inflammation load. What is the way forward then? Measurement. So we need to have reliable biomarkers and better tissue age assessment. A lot of standardization in measurements need to be done. Clinical trials need to be very long-term and detailed. Precision nutrition, meaning we need to identify the high-risk population and then talk about age. The cooking methods, here we can do a lot by making public aware of the ideal cooking methods for a healthy you. Therapeutics, where we can definitely have some rage antagonists, age breakers and inhibitors, so that people can enjoy their favorite foods. So what are the key takeaways? AGs are clinically relevant and not hyped, but they act as risk amplifiers in CKM syndrome. They are not alone the culprits. So the dietary age reduction is very simple. They are low cost, they are sustainable and very, very clinically meaningful. So my final thought is, AGs may not be the dominant driver of CKM disease, but they remind us that metabolic health begins long before food reaches the bloodstream. It begins very much in your own kitchen. So I feel it does not initiate the fire, but definitely it can fuel the fire. Thank you so much. These are the references that I use for my PPT making. And thank you for a patient listening. I am open to question answers if any. So yeah, ultimately the method of cooking is microwave, and what was the other that you said? Air fryers. Electric is okay, as far as you're not grilling and browning your food a lot. It's the end point of cooking methodology also, that a lot of browning is a lot of Maillard and lot of age produced. Okay, so one is that. Microwave for small length of time, and the right vessels. Shouldn't be using plastics in your microwaves. Am I audible? Yeah, okay. So we need to use glass vessels, and a short duration of exposure is okay. Similarly, for air fryers, we were discussing in the morning itself, if you control the temperature, then air fryer can also be a boon to your cooking methodology. Yes. The Gen Zs have become very impatient. ठीक है ना, तो they want to cook at 200, 250 and finish it off. That is not the ideal method. Even we have become impatient. I will not blame only the Gen Zs, but yes. So it is the length of time, the temperature, the right. You should not cook at very high temperature, irrespective of the cooking method. Even if it's a moist heat method, try to control the temperature and avoid burning your food a lot, charring of food, and literally browning. That's the reason I gave the example of the toast, right? So it should not be a burnt toast. Anything that is burnt is definitely a high age load food. Sorry? Yeah, reheating. Yeah, as I said, for reheating oil, similarly for our food also, because reheating is again going to be increasing the browning stage. So again, a lot of age. So I feel we should not be. I mean, especially with CKM risk, we should be talking about age. But for a normal population, it should not matter till we have a lot of studies getting into it. Sorry. So till 100, 150 is safe. 100 is boiling, तो उसके बाद ही cooking होना है, right? So उसके till 150 if you take, it is good. And if the length of time can be increased, but you reduce the temperature. You can gas stove can be reduced. Anything else?
Thank you, Dr. Patel. Nutrition